and welcome to a new Getting to Know Japan webinar. Thank you for joining us, and a big thank you to our program sponsor, the Japan Foundation New York, for funding this series and enabling us to put this on each week. Today, we are joined by Dr. Kei Koga, who will be presenting on Japan and Southeast Asia relations. Dr. Kei Koga is Associate Professor at the Public Policy and Global Affairs Program School of Social Sciences at Nanyang Technological University. Concurrently, he is a non-resident fellow at the National Bureau of Asia Research in the United States and a member of RIPS Research Committee, the Research Institute of Peace and Security in Japan. His recent publication includes Managing Great Power Politics, ASEAN Institutional Strategy in the South China Sea, and Getting ASEAN Right in the U.S. Indo-Pacific Strategy. He received his PhD in International Relations at the Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy from Tufts University. So once again, Dr. Koga, it's a pleasure to have you with us here today. I'll let you take it from here.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you for your kind introduction, Amani. And then also thank you very much for inviting me to this the webinar. Today, I'd like to make the presentation on the Japan and Southeast Asia the relations. My the presentation is going to be general, but close to the end, I'm going to actually talk more about the contemporary issues. Particularly the strategic issues that we need to think about for the Japan and the Southeast Asia. So let me share the screen right now. I think I hope it works fine. Okay. Can everybody see the slides? Okay, great. All right, so let's start. My presentation is on the Japan, Southeast Asia. Just before going into the presentation, I'm going to provide some information. Shameless self-promotion. But every year I write the report on the Japan Southeast Asian relations in the comparative connection, which is published by the Pacific Forum. And I actually started to doing this from the 2017 every year. So if you are interested in the the Japan Southeast Asia relations every year, then just go there and then find out the Japan Southeast Asia relations, and then you can find the report each year. Okay, so. With that, what I actually want to do today is I'm going to talk about the Japan Southeast Asia ASEAN relations today, and where are we? And then the development of the Japan Southeast Asia ASEAN relations, how the relationship actually developed over time, and then lastly the today's challenges and the future opportunities, which I want to actually make certain particular perspective on the U.S.-China strategic competition and how the two actors, Japan and ASEAN, or Japan and Southeast Asian countries, react to it, and then what kind of the opportunities we need to actually utilize. So these are three things that I would like to discuss today. So firstly, it's just the snapshot, but the Japan, ASEAN, or Southeast Asian countries are really good in a good shape. They have the comprehensive relationship, and it's really difficult to actually discuss the bilateral relations between Japan and each ASEAN member states, 10 Southeast Asian countries. So what I do is at first, I would like to discuss the Japan-ASEAN relations, because that actually gives to you the pretty much the basics of the Japan Southeast Asia relations. And on economic field, there are some agreement which was concluded in the 2008. That is the ASEAN-Japan Comprehensive Economic Partnership. So the ASEAN and the Japan actually try to create the free trade area and then they are actually striving for that. Trade and then FDI, foreign direct investment, also good. If we take a look at the 2021 the trade relationship, its amount is the 240 billion approximately US dollar, and then the foreign direct investment is the 12 billion in 2021. And this is the trade-wise, it is the ASEAN's third largest trade partner, and then the FDI in the FDI, the fourth largest source of the FDI among the ASEAN the dialogue partners. So the economic relations are good in the I think from the past, they were pretty much like economic relations are great. And then diplomatically, Japan's commitment to Southeast Asia is pretty strong too. In 2003, Japan concluded made the accession to the Treaty of Amity and Cooperation. That is the treaty that Southeast Asian countries and ASEAN thinks much of, because this is a kind of like the code of conduct that the member states, ASEAN member states, and also the outside states need to kind of follow in the Southeast Asia and beyond. That happened like in 2003. And then Japan is also almost like all the members of the ASEAN-led institutions. That includes the IRF, ASEAN Regional Forum, ASEAN Plus 3, East Asia Summit, ADMM Plus, is expanded ASEAN military, Maritime Forum, etc., etc. So ASEAN proliferates the regional institutions since the end of the Cold War, but then each time Japan is has been willing to actually commit itself and then promote and then support these forums. And then in that relation, Japan also respects for the ASEAN centrality and unity. Sometimes, I mean, like people say like ASEAN unity and centrality either way. But basically what that means is that it actually definition depends on whom you are going to ask. But like basically the ASEAN is an important player in the East Asia or Southeast Asia regionalism. And then the ASEAN needs to actually play the pivotal role in facilitating the cooperation, and then also the facilitating the multilateralism in this kind of region. And then the Japan is kind of try to support this principle. And also the Japan officially respects the ASEAN Outlook on the Indo-Pacific, which was created in the 2019. And the AOIP is very much the version of the ASEAN's Indo-Pacific strategy. It's not necessarily strategy, but then it is more kind of outlook, how the ASEAN perceive the region in the region of the Indo-Pacific, and what they actually want to promote. Essentially, ASEAN wants to have the more kind of cooperation and then mitigate the tension among the great powers, and then they reduce the rivalry among the great powers, and then facilitate the functional cooperation. And again, like Japan supports this, and then they are now trying to synthesize the functions of the AOIP, and also with Japan's so-called free and open in the Pacific vision. So that's the diplomatic side. And then defense-wise, it's not a lot. I mean, Japan engages militarily with the other countries, many countries in the Southeast Asia and beyond. But then as the region, Japan engaged the ASEAN under the name the vision that they created from the 2016. That is the Vientiane Vision, and then also Vientiane Vision 2.0 to 2019. What they actually do for this one is that basically kind of facilitating what they have been doing for the Southeast Asia. that is the capacity building program. Trying to have the workshop and also they're trying to actually promote the cooperation in the maritime the domain, and also the exchange, conduct the defense diplomacy, and the also like the skill kind of transfer, and then sometimes the technological transfer on the other issues, and then particularly the humanitarian assistance and disaster relief is one of the important area that Japan emphasized, because Japan has been prone to the natural disaster as well. So these are kind of defense cooperation, but essentially it is more on the non-traditional security side, but then they actually engage some of the dialogue as well. And the last one is the socio-economic development. If you kind of look through what they are doing, like there's gonna be tons of lists, but like I just kind of picked up the several things which I think are important. The one is the program called the Genesis. Genesis is the Japan East Asia Network of the Exchange for Students and Youth, which is the basically exchange program for the I think including the high school and the university students, and they try to kind of get to know each other and then understand the culture and also the similarities and differences among the East Asian states. And also they actually need to kind of understand what what kind of economic development, cultural background, political system East Asia has. So Genesis is not like really long kind of the program. It's I think like the 1 week or so, but it's still I think it's the really important initiative that Japan actually pushed forward. And then they actually interact, they promote the youth to interact with each other. And also health security. After the COVID-19, Japan emphasized the importance of the regional facilities that could actually deal with the emerging diseases. And then Japan agreed to contribute to the establishment of the ASEAN Center for Public Health Emergencies and Emerging Diseases, ACPHEED. And now I think the agreement has been already made for a long time, but I think like they are now like trying to kind of set up the particular institutions, even though like they decide the establishment of secretariat in Bangkok in 2022. So I think like this is still a little bit delayed, but the great initiative that Japan can actually make for the Southeast Asia. And then connectivity, I think like most of you have already known that the Japan promotes the partnership for the quality infrastructure, and then they try to contribute. Japan tried to contribute the master plan on the ASEAN connectivity, so-called MPAC, that 2025. So again, like these are the socio-economic cooperation Japan actually tried to promote, and then the ASEAN country wants to actually get the assistance, and also like try to have the exchange with the Japan. And because of those kind of like extensive cooperation, Japan actually sustained the positive public perceptions between from the Southeast Asian countries. If you look at the survey conducted by the ICS, Institute for the Southeast Asian Studies, they actually published the annual survey. And also, the Minister of Foreign Affairs Japan published the some of the survey results about the Southeast Asian perception toward Japan, and they are pretty much similar. And then in general, they are pretty positive. So right now, like the status of the Japan Southeast Asia relations are really good, and then they are stable. And I don't want to go into the this too much a bit, but then more kind of specifically, the Japan is also like doubling down its cooperation, defense cooperation with the Southeast Asia, and then recently Japan announced launched the Official Security Assistant (OSA), and then they put the 4 priority countries in the East Asia, which are Bangladesh, the Malaysia, Philippines, and Fiji. And then 2 of 4 actually are located in the Southeast Asia. So they are actually emphasizing kind of implicitly the importance of the Southeast Asia here. This is the economic trade, which I actually mentioned previously. But the economic cooperation is great. If you look at each country, then there's a differences. I mean, like if you look at the graph on the right side, then you would see the Thailand is the most kind of biggest trading the partners within the ASEAN, and then also the Japan is relatively kind of having the trade relations with the original 5 countries. That is Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, Philippines, Thailand, and plus the Vietnam recently. So this is what I'm trying to. My point here is that even though we tend to look at the ASEAN as a whole, but then if we take the disaggregated ASEAN, each country has a different kind of the trade relations with Japan. And then the same thing can be said to the ODA and FDI. Basically, there are certain kind of countries Japan emphasize. That is the Indonesia for the ODA. Indonesia, Vietnam are the 2 top recipient countries of the Japanese ODA. But then at the same time, Japan is trying to kind of spread the engagement to entire Southeast Asia as well. So even though the amount of those ODA and FDI may change, diplomatically and economically, their kind of engagement still is pretty strong. So these are something like I'd like to kind of emphasize. But again, like in overall, Japan's relation is great. But then I mean, their kind of like a relationship is I mean, has not been the straightforward development. I mean, like they actually took some kind of like kind of controversies and also like the tensions, and then also some kind of in the earlier period. Their relation were pretty tense, and then which I would like to kind of emphasize here, development of the Japan, Southeast Asia, and ASEAN relations. This year, the people actually, as people, some people know, this year is the 50th anniversary of the Japan's relation with the ASEAN and Southeast Asia, and then that is 50 years back. It was 1973. And in 1973, Japan actually had the dialogue or relation with the ASEAN. And then if we actually talk about the dialogue relations or like the forums or so, then like we tend to actually think it like positively. But then the reason why like they created the forum in 1973 is because there was a tension in the trade, which is over the Japanese synthetic rubber exports, which is so Japan was kind of promoting its synthetic rubber the exports at that time, and then the Southeast Asian countries were kind of threatened by that because they were providing the natural rubber and then they exported. But then because the synthetic rubber becomes some kind of like rival product, so that they need to actually think about the kind of the how to actually deal with this kind of tension. And then in order to mitigate that tension, they started to have the dialogue. And then Japan actually started to make the certain kind of arrangement, trade arrangement, and then some kind of concessions, and then started to kind of try to reach the agreement with the Southeast Asian ASEAN countries. But then at that time there are several still some the World War II legacy kind of was there, and most of the people didn't actually think that Japan was the kind of great country because of the World War II experience. And then also because the Japanese economy was rising, and then Japan was actually having more influence in Southeast Asia, people started to kind of see this the trend more kind of skeptically in Southeast Asia. And then when the Tanaka, the Prime Minister Tanaka made the trip to the Southeast Asia in the early 1970s, there were big demonstrations in the Indonesia or like the Thailand and so on and so forth. So there was some kind of the political, social, diplomatic tensions, and also like economic tensions. Their kind of relationship are not necessarily great. And then in 1977, the Prime Minister Fukuda came in, and then Prime Minister Fukuda actually made created the so-called Fukuda Doctrine. And what this kind of the doctrine said is here. It's the Fukuda Doctrine is the actually it's not like the I mean Prime Minister Fukuda didn't actually say it's a Fukuda Doctrine, but like the Prime Minister Fukuda actually made a speech in Manila, the Philippines, in August 1977. And then basically he emphasized three things. That one is the Japan is committed to peace and then reject the role of military power. And secondly, the Japan will do its best to consolidate relationship of mutual confidence and trust based on the heart-to-heart understanding with the nations of Southeast Asia. And thirdly, Japan will cooperate positively with the ASEAN while aiming to foster a relationship based on the mutual understanding with the countries of Indochina, and will thus contribute to the building of peace and prosperity throughout the Southeast Asia. So Japan actually started to kind of emphasize their relation is not necessarily, it's not like only based on their national interests or economic interests. Also, they are actually trying to kind of cooperate and then they facilitate their mutual understandings and also their social cultural cooperations with each other. And then Japan actually try to assure that like Japan is not going to the invade or like the attack or any kind of like the using the physical force to disrupt the region in Southeast Asia. So this actually resonated what the Southeast Asian countries were thinking about the relationship with Japan, and then this made a great impact on the relationship. And then since then, they started to have more kind of the cooperative atmosphere, and then talking about the more kind of the different type of political cooperation or economic cooperation and so on and so forth. And then so this actually became the basis, the big basis of the Japan Southeast Asia relations, and then this actually continues up until now. And then even in the post-Cold War era, Japan strongly supported the ASEAN's initiative, ASEAN's multilateralism, and then the Japanese diplomacy is more on the obviously like the most important the relationship with the United States, but then the Japan actually look at the Southeast Asia more actively, and then they try to kind of engage and then promote the social economic development there. From the 2000s, the Japan made the several Japan and Southeast Asia made several the initiatives and also the events. The 2003 ASEAN Japan Commemorative Summit in 2000, this is actually kind of important because this is the first time for the ASEAN the leaders to have the forum outside Southeast Asia with the other countries. So the ASEAN Japan Commemorative Summit, which was held in Tokyo, was considered to be the kind of a great kind of start for the renewing the relationship with the ASEAN Japan relations. And then 2011, Japan had the Japan ASEAN strategic partnership, elevated its relationship to the strategic partnership. And then the 2023, this year, they are trying to elevate the relationship to the comprehensive strategic partnership. Basically, I don't know to what extent there's going to be a difference between the strategic partnership and the comprehensive the strategic partnership, but they probably like provide more kind of like the range of the agendas and also the range of the areas of cooperation, so that they could facilitate more comprehensive cooperation between the two. So this is what we are now development. Again, this is really positive, and then we could actually see how Japan they manage, and then also the Southeast Asian country manage the cooperation with each other. But now I think there are several the big challenges that we have, which is I think these three are really important. The one is the U.S.-China strategic competition. Obviously, if we take a look at the development of the U.S.-China relations from the 2010s, or even after the specifically after the global financial crisis in 2008, then there's tensions growing, and then now it's becoming more and more intense. And there's narratives that the China use and also the United States use, and then their narrative are actually completely sometimes the opposite. Different. When the China promoted the Belt and Road Initiative, then people started to Japan and also the United States they launched the concept of free and open in the Pacific, and then there are certain kind of US-led rules-based order, while the China is promoting more the China-based alternative kind of order in the region. And there are several layers of competition, which is obviously military balance of power, but then there's a certain kind of order building competition. China is actually competing in East Asia and beyond in terms of the order building because not necessarily all the regional states in the East Asia or in the Pacific are democratic, and then there are kind of the relationship with the foreign countries more based on the interest or the traditional international rules such as non-interference principle and etc. etc. So there's a big kind of competition going on, and this affects the Japan Southeast Asia relations. The other second one is the intra-regional and political economic development. Even though ASEAN actually tried to maintain its unity by promoting the development among the member states, there's still a big gap between them. And then it actually is not really progressing in a way that they could actually have the economic integrations soon. So and then because of this the development gap, their kind of perspective towards the external actors may change. For example, as everybody knows, the more or less kind of developing countries like the Cambodia or Laos were relying on the China for the infrastructure development, and then they get more kind of economic assistance from that. So basically, the China has the kind of big privilege over the those countries. So that actually creates certain kind of perception gaps among the ASEAN member states. And then more, I think, importantly, equally importantly, there was a Myanmar coup happened, and then that actually disrupted the ASEAN unity. Currently, ASEAN doesn't actually invite the Myanmar because the Myanmar's the military regime is not internationally recognized, so they don't consider the military regime as the legitimate government. And then they are trying to figure out how to manage this military coup in Myanmar, but still the ASEAN was not able to do this. And then so there's a kind of risk for the deteriorating or degrading the ASEAN unity here. And this again affects the Japan Southeast Asia relations. And then the other thing is the development of the Japan-ASEAN relations. More I think the one thing I'd like to emphasize here is that currently to make the international order in their favor, they need to actually gain the support from the so-called global south. But then the global south kind of values and also diplomatic the posture is not completely similar to what the Japan is doing. So I think like there are certain kind of the differences we could actually see, and then this would affect the relationship as well. So these are the kind of like the challenges we need to have. And then I guess both the Japan and also Southeast Asia have a choice. For Japan, I think like currently they are having the choice to go either going to the kind of not pure balance of power strategy, but they could actually try to formulate certain kind of coalition with the particular Southeast Asian countries, like-minded kind of Southeast Asian countries, to maintain the political and then also the military balance of power in their favor. And that actually is what I think like the United States now are pursuing, whether or not like it's intentional or unintentional. But then they are actually pick and choose some of the important states in the Southeast Asia, and then they try to have the maintain influence in the Southeast Asia. Japan can do that, but then this is going to be a little bit different from what Japan has been doing, because the Japanese kind of approach to the Southeast Asia is more kind of empowerment. What they actually do is they didn't really have the particular strategy objective before. And now it's a little bit different. But then what they did try to do is they try to kind of facilitate the development of Southeast Asia, so that the Southeast Asian countries have more kind of rigid economic infrastructure, political stability, and they could actually practice their agency in the broader East Asia. So right now, I think like if we just kind of follow the strategic trend, then strategic alignment, like engaging the like-minded Southeast Asian countries make sense. But at the same time, this would actually drive a wedge between the ASEAN countries, and then that could actually may harm or they may be completely different from what Japan has been pursuing for the Southeast Asia. And on the other hand, I think like Southeast Asia has also the similar kind of like similar choices. They still think that the ASEAN is important, but again, ASEAN is actually losing its political leverage or diplomatic leverage because of the many issues. The first, the ASEAN unity is kind of damaged by the Myanmar coup. And also at the same time, the Russian invasion into the Ukraine actually created the situation where those Western countries, Western great powers, were not necessarily willing to engage with the ASEAN because the ASEAN may invite the Russian counterparts, and then the Western countries may not want to actually meet those Russian counterparts. And if that's the case, the Southeast Asian countries would actually not completely abandon, but then just marginalize ASEAN, and then try to kind of pursue its own diplomacy more. And then like there's a choice, the strategic alignment. I mean, bilaterally engaging the particular great powers to balance against a particular country, or like they could actually try to keep maintaining the ASEAN centrality, even though it's going to be it's actually weakening. So this is a kind of dilemma the Japan and Southeast Asian country states they are faced right now. My kind of the hope, and then also this is the last slide, and then I'm gonna just go quickly. Sorry, I actually spent already like 30 minutes, but I think what we could do is there is still time that we don't actually have to choose yet whether like we need to actually engage the strategic alignment with a particular country to balance against the particular country, which I mean like from the Japan or like the United States, it would be China. But then if taking China's side, maybe that would be the Japan or the United States also. But then I think again, like we still have the room, and then so that like we could actually talk about what kind of like regional order we want to establish in the East Asia or like the Southeast Asia. So I think the Japan is definitely going to push the fundamental values, but then I think like in order to push the fundamental values such as the democratization, human rights, and rule of law, that's okay. But they don't do that like a kind of coercive way. Maybe like we could actually promote creative way, try to kind of engage the locals and also leaders in the making the creating workshop, doing the experience sharing, so that they are not threatened by kind of like the sanctions also. So this is something like we could actually discuss between the ASEAN and then Japan. And also expand the strategic option for the regional states. That is yes, the empowering global south is important, but then if we take a look at the deconstruct global south, they have like diversity. They have diverse kind of interests, and they have like different kind of agendas, different priorities. So in order to do that, in order to understand that kind of like the differences, probably like there should be certain kind of like institutional linkage the ASEAN and Japan can make. And probably like one of the examples could be the Quad ASEAN cooperation. Now that like Quad is not like the completely the strategic, or it's more like kind of becoming the functional cooperation among the 4 countries and more. So I guess the Quad has more room to talk to the other regional organizations, including the ASEAN. And then lastly, renewing Japan Southeast Asian the equal partnership. Heart partnership is important. So promoting the more kind of human exchanges. The Genesis program is great, but then other exchanges, including the media or the other academic source and so forth. So I'll stop here, and then I look for the discussion later. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Koga, for your time today. We have a lot of great questions in the chat. So to begin, I would like to ask, is it possible for members of ASEAN to like leave ASEAN in the same way that, for example, the UK left the European Union? You mentioned there was a few, situations that could potentially create a bit of a separation between the countries. So do you think this is possible, or do you infer something like this happening in the future?
So you mean the dialogue with the particular ASEAN member states is I think that is difficult, definitely difficult, because Japan emphasized the importance of G7, even though it is not as powerful as it used to be. But then the Japanese engagement with the European countries and also the United States are strong. I mean, they have been committed to this dialogue with each other. I guess for the ASEAN member states, the bilaterally speaking, there is a chance. I guess in relative term, it's going to be difficult. But if Japan creates the particular status with in terms of the relationship with the particular ASEAN member states, such as the strategic partnership. So this is just kind of my research which I've done before, and then what I found out is after Japan concluded elevated the relationship with the Cambodia and Laos to the strategic partners, then like they started to have more kind of interaction at the senior official level or the leadership level. And then this is actually not only the multilateral forum wise, it's more like kind of bilateral setting. They actually did it. So in that sense, they could actually have the some opportunities for the even like the less developing countries like Cambodia and Laos could make their certain summit with the Japan to talk about the particular issues in the region or like their own kind of the countries the development issue also. So I think like this is the one way to do that. But again, in general it's difficult. But again, I think like there's a way.
Thank you so much. So the next question comes from Lin Ha. As the initiator of the free and open Indo-Pacific concept and the Quad, how has Japan influenced Southeast Asian countries in shaping the ASEAN outlook on Indo-Pacific?
Okay. Okay. So it's I think like it's the interesting question, but I don't think the Japan had initially Japan had the leverage over shaping shaping the ASEAN's creation of the ASEAN Indo-Pacific ASEAN outlook on the Indo-Pacific, because the free and open Indo-Pacific was the concept that was launched by the Abe administration in 2016. And at that time, they didn't really emphasize the ASEAN at all. And then when like ASEAN was actually kind of no explicitly giving a voice to them, but they actually comments on those free and open Pacific. They said the ASEAN has been missing. And then since then, Japan started to include the ASEAN in its conceptual map of the free and open in the Pacific. And also like the Quad was at first like considered to be, Quad was considered to be everything. Like they actually need to do the security cooperation or political cooperation, rules making, whatever. But then that is because the Quad was the only kind of like framework that was set in the Pacific region. So everybody expects like a lot from for the Quad. And then the Japan was actually even though like it's an initiator, and then the Quad from the 2017 was a little bit different from the Quad in the 2008 when like which first Abe administration started to launched. That is more kind of strategic cooperation, which was failed eventually. But then the second kind of the Quad, the so-called Quad 2.0, is more like the try to kind of see if there's any kind of like common ground that like, we can actually facilitate among those four countries: India, Japan, United States, and Australia. So there's a certain kind of gradual the development process in the Quad 2.0, and then now like they started to have more kind of I think they reached a point where they were not able to concretely cooperate militarily or like make it like this complete security institution, so that they started to have more kind of functional cooperation with the four countries, and then it actually becomes more like the non-traditional security cooperative framework also. So for me, it is more like not like the Japan actually shaping the kind of concept of the ASEAN outlook on in the Pacific, but then the ASEAN or the Southeast Asian countries actually shaped the free and open in the Pacific of Japan, and also the Quad as well. So it's more like even though like usually the first mover or initiator may have some power to shape this kind of framework or concept, but then in order to sustain the concept or the institution, they need to actually get some of the voices from outside. And then the ASEAN actually made that kind of choice, and then ASEAN actually gave a voice and then shaped the concept of the free and open in the Pacific, and also the framework of the Quad.
Thank you so much. To add to that question, do you perceive Japan as the most suitable candidate to play the bridging role between the Quad and the ASEAN in comparison to other Quad members?
I think for now, Yeah, I mean, I think Japan is situated in the good position to bridge between the Quad and also the Quad and then the ASEAN. Because the Japan is willing to engage with the ASEAN member states, and then they actually understand what is a concern from the Southeast Asian countries as well. But I think that recently more the countries like the Australia could actually understand, even though their kind of posture toward the China is the hardened, and then also the United States, it has the kind of firm the strategic posture toward the China. But then the I think that in terms of the coordination between the ASEAN and then also the Quad, maybe like Australia can play a role here because they are close, and then also their commitment is strong too as well. So maybe like these are the two candidates, and then the US is, I think, getting more understanding about the ASEAN, hopefully, even though like they are going to miss the East Asia Summit the coming month, but they have the more kind of, they don't disregard completely those kind of institutions as well. India, yes, but like India is pretty difficult, and India is more the so-called global south, trying to be a leader, taking the leadership in global south, but their kind of view is more not like only ASEAN, like not like the bridging the ASEAN and Quad. I think like they are more kind of trying to lead the global south, and so probably like if I get asked which country is the better positioned to bridge the between the two, probably like the Japan and Australia.
Thank you so much. So the next question comes from Vivian Moon. Who do you think are the like-minded nations that Japan can try to engage in Southeast Asia, and why are they considered like-minded?
Okay, so the like-minded in many ways. So I think like I don't know like if I should, yeah, you should have used the like-minded, but for the I think for example the maritime security issues, then probably like the Philippines and then the Vietnam are the good like-minded countries, because they consider the importance of the South China Sea, and then also they consider the importance of the international law. They respect the decisions or the awards made by the South China Sea arbitration tribunal as well. So in that sense, their view are converging, and then I think that is the like-minded countries that Japan can actually work with. Others probably they are such as in terms of the Ukraine war, I guess the Singapore is the good country to align, because their kind of view is pretty much similar to the what Japan is thinking, kind of taking the positions that Japan is taking toward the Russia and then Ukraine. So those are kind of like-minded countries. So depending on the what kind of issues, I think like-mindedness may change, but then these are the something that they could actually think of.
So the second part of that question is, what are your thoughts about how Japan can draw these nations to become more positive about working with Japan toward objectives that may not be fully agreeable to other ASEAN nations?
So difficult again, like because they have the dilemma once they started to kind of pursue their own kind of independent diplomacy, then that may actually degrade the ASEAN's unity or like ASEAN centrality. So they need to actually think about carefully what kind of like the decision may influence the ASEAN in a certain way. But I think try to I think like the first, like your kind of position needs to be clear, like in whatever the issue is, and then after that, then Japan could actually the Southeast Asian countries could engage Japan for the political support, diplomatic support, or like the assistance, etc., etc. And then if it's not going to be the coercive way to actually do something about it, then probably like they could actually draw the Japanese cooperation to that. So that's more like kind of ASEAN style. Like the ASEAN likes the dialogue and the forums where they could actually discuss the issue, even though they have the disagreement. So if the Japan is actually practicing those kind of the dialogue diplomacy toward the ASEAN member states, maybe like my country are not like hesitant to the approach the ASEAN, sorry, the Japan.
Thank you so much. The next question comes from Ryan. Do you think Japanese participation to ASEAN can help some countries to have a more democratic transition?
It's hard to say because we don't actually see the kind of concrete outcome yet. But the Japan has been engaging with the Cambodia, for example, in terms of the political kind of exchange. The young kind of politicians in the Cambodia come to the Japan, and then have the dialogue with the politicians in Japan, young politicians in Japan, and then they actually learn how to practice the democracy. And also there's a dialogue over the human rights. So I guess those kind of the knowledge sharing or like experience sharing could actually help them some of the Southeast Asian countries understand what kind of options they could actually take. Maybe like it's not going to be immediately change the political system also, but maybe like they could actually take baby steps to empower the civil society also. And then if that's the case, then probably like that is a kind of first step to develop more kind of democratized way. So I don't know exactly whether like this kind of the approach, like softer approach, could work the effectively. But then we will probably like see in the long term engagement. And then now it's difficult to say. I mean, like it seems like it's not like completely working because there's no kind of quick democratization also. But then at least like they could actually share the experience, and then they could actually have more policy options to pursue. That's their kind of their political the objective, including the democratization, if they want to. So yeah.
Thank you so much. Our next question comes from Samuel Valentine. Are there any plans to expand Japanese or ASEAN economic relationships with some of the more further island nations that were shown on the map, like those under the ODA? With the effects of climate change, it seems like getting a robust support and trade network between the more vulnerable nations would go a long way in building a communal trust amongst the Southeast Asian community of states.
Okay. So are you is this talking about OSA, the offshore security assistance? I mean, like the map.
Yes.
And then the question is sorry, the environmental trade relationship.
Yes. Are there plans on expanding like economic relationships with some of those islands that are included on the map? And then with regards to climate change, this person highlights that there seems to be like getting robust support would create like a better trade network for some of the most vulnerable islands.
Okay, yeah. So maybe talking about this is more talking about the Pacific Islands. If the Pacific Island, yes, I mean that's the important issue, and then also, as far as I know, the trade relationship between the Japan and also the those kind of Pacific islands are not necessarily the kind of um, uh, reciprocal. I mean, like that's not like the Pacific Islands provide certain kind of resources to Japan, and then the Japan is providing certain kind of goods. I think the what the Pacific Islands can provide is the probably like a fishery, but then the not like the products or raw material or so and so forth. So the trade relation is actually difficult. Even but the I guess the fishery is important. So maybe like they're trying to expand this area of cooperation. But again, Japan has been doing this like since the 1950s or 1960s. So their kind of trade relation is on the I think the good in I think the good shape. But like, at the same time as the question is I mean, this in terms of this question, the climate change is the most the pressing issue for the Pacific Islands. So I think the way Japan approach to this Pacific Island is they are having the bilateral and multilateral engagement, and then they are kind of one of the top agendas already they are including the climate change. So I believe they are thinking about it, and then definitely the climate change is the one of the issues to facilitate the good cooperation with the Pacific Islands and so.
Thank you. I think maybe this might be the last question, but Mark will ask, what is the role of the Official Security Assistance, OSA, with regards to strategic competition with China?
I think the OSA is still kind of the initial stage. So I don't know what kind of equipment or infrastructure Japan is they are going to provide to these countries. But I think the objective of this the OSA is to empower those countries. The militarily or like in terms of the defense wise, because if they don't have any kind of defense capabilities, they're they are continuously vulnerable to the external pressures and also the external forces. So in order to kind of prevent that, then probably like Japan could actually provide certain military equipment such as the radar, so that they could actually enhance their own kind of maritime the maritime domain awareness, the capabilities, and they could understand what's going on in the neighboring areas. So I think like this is more like the empowerment. It's not like the alliance with the particular countries, but then they empower them to be more kind of like the independently deal with the issues they are confronting.
Thank you so much. So I believe that will conclude our Q&A session, but thank you so much, Dr. Koga, for your presentation today and taking time out of your day to be with us. Thank you to our program sponsor, the Japan Foundation New York. And thank you everyone for all of your amazing questions. I apologize once again that we couldn't get to all of the questions, but there are a lot of really great questions in the chat. Lastly, I will be presenting some upcoming events. So while we wait on the presentation, I will quickly post events into the chat. Okay, so our next Getting to Know Japan webinar is going to be on the history of karate in Okinawa. This is going to be next Tuesday, September 5th at 10 a.m. Colonel Jason Perry will be the speaker for this event. So if you have time, please join us for that next week. And as usual, if you are interested and would like to know more information or to register, please find the link in the chat. The next event we have is, next slide, please, is on the India and China economic ties. Which way is it heading? An impression of India. This is going to be next Friday, September 8th at 1900 until 2100. This is also an online webinar. So if you are interested in participating in this webinar, please register as well. And lastly, for community conversations, we have Japan's decision to defend Taiwan, opportunities and challenges. This is on Monday, September 11th. This is in Misawa. So this is an in-person event in Misawa. Dr. Narushige Michishita will be the speaker for that event. They will begin at 17:30 with refreshments and end at 18:30 with the presentation. So if you happen to be in Misawa and would like to attend this particular event, please join us. And finally, for all of our webinars from April until now, you can find them on our YCAPS YouTube channel. So if you haven't already done so, we kindly ask you to check it out. Subscribe so that every time a video is uploaded, you'll be able to watch it. And of course, like and turn on your notifications and leave some comments if you would like as well. So thank you everyone for joining us today. We hope that you will join us again next week for the next Getting to Know Japan event, and that you will join us for other YCAPS events. Thank you so much, Dr. Koga, and thank you to our sponsors, the Japan Foundation New York. We look forward to seeing you all next time. Bye. Thank you.
Bye all.
Thank you.